Hello and welcome to day 3 of the 5-day Get Out of Your Comfort Zone challenge. This week, so far, we are halfway through the week. And for me, I don't know about for you, but for me, there has been so much already. Just putting these things down on paper has already started my growth process, has already started moving me through all of this. And I know from hearing back from people and the responses that everyone has sent me and receiving people's charts, both in the group and as private messages, I'm seeing this a lot. And we are only through right now, comfort zone, recognizing that comfort zone, establishing that comfort zone, and recognizing the fear zone. So now is really where the fun begins, but this is also where the work begins. So the first piece to it, the first steps in all of this is always observing, stepping back, observing, recognizing where you're at, getting really real with yourselves. And we've started doing that. And I will tell you, as you continue through this process, you're going to get more and more real with yourself. And that's really important. I found that when I sat down to do spell out the things that for me under the fear, I was able to get really more real with myself. And as we do that, the more open you can be with yourself, the more honest you can be with yourself, that might make things a little bit scarier. Your fear zone might grow a little bit more, but that's where we really start to make that jump into the learning zone. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is this learning zone, how to get there, what to do with it. So the fear zone tends to keep us locked in, right? We create this wall of emotions. We create this safety net and we find safety in that fear. That fear controls us with all of the negative what ifs. What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I succeed? What if that we turn negative? What if I succeed can both be a positive and a negative. Oftentimes, what if I succeed is something that holds somebody back because they don't know what to do. If they're successful, they're like, oh my gosh, what if this actually works? Then what's next? And they don't really want to be successful because that scares them. So very, very common with me, but it's common with everybody. And so really starting to look at that. What are my fears? What's really holding me back? Are they real? Are they, and do I want to give them that much power? Because we're giving them a lot of power. We're giving those fears a whole heck of a lot of power to control us. So we want to look at really take a deep dive into that fear zone because we're going to take those things and that's where we're going to start to shift them into the learning zone. So I'm going to share with you what I put together. So I did some stuff. I did a little bit, I did what I told you guys to do. But then as I started working through it, I started brain dumping some more things, which was really helpful. But the first thing that we want to look at is what is keeping you, me, any of us in the fear zone? What is there? What is that security, right? I talk about the drunk monkey. I mentioned the drunk monkey earlier in the week, but the drunk monkey is the voice in our heads that gives us half truths, maybe not even half truths, 99.9% truths, and just a little bit of lie to hold us back. The drunk monkey really does have our best interest at heart. It is part of us. It is a piece of us. It is our past. It is there to keep us safe. Our brain's number one job is to keep us safe. So our brain, our drunk monkey, whatever you want to call it, I like to call it the drunk monkey, and I challenge you to name your drunk monkey because the more you can personify it, the better you can talk to it. And you can build a relationship with it and say, no, you're wrong. And this is why you're wrong. And you can really relate to that. Whereas if it's just another part of your brain, it really is hard to tell yourself that you're wrong. So really listen, what is your drunk monkey telling you? Because your drunk monkey is what's holding you in the fear zone. The drunk monkey is a relic of your past, of past goals, of things that happened, of what kept you safe in the past. And the drunk monkey is going, well, if I give this up, X, Y, and Z might happen. But the drunk monkey twists it a little bit different. The drunk monkey says, if I get, remember you did this because of this. And so this is going to happen again if you start to change, right? So that's the voice that we have in our head. And we want to be able to face that voice head on. So the first thing you want to recognize when you're looking at the list of all the things that you put down yesterday is what is keeping me in the fear zone? What am I really, really, really afraid of? And so that's the first piece. And then looking at it and say, why is it important to me to move out of the fear zone? Why do I really want this growth? Why do I really want to move past this? Because if you don't really want to move past it, and if you don't know why you really want to move past it, you're not going to move past it. You're going to give that power to the drunk monkey, and you're going to stay there as best of your intentions might be. And even no matter what it is, but getting crystal clear on why moving out of your fear zone is important to you is really, really, really crucial in this moving into the learning zone, because it's going to be scary. I'm going to tell you, that's why it's the fear zone. And it's going to be really hard. And this drunk monkey voice is going to do everything that it possibly can to yank you back and keep you safe. But I'm going to tell you that when you move into the learning zone, you are safe. You are very safe. And that's one thing that I want you to put into your mantra in your head is, I am safe. Nothing bad can happen from me stepping into the learning zone. One of my favorite quotes, and I have a sticker here that's on my computer. I'm pointing to it. Yeah, you can't see me, but it's sitting here. I look at it all the time, and it's a question, and it says, "But did you die?" Okay, but did you die? Is this going to kill you to get into the learning zone? Could it be scary? Yeah. Could you have some rejection? Maybe. Could it be really, really hard? Possibly. But is it going to kill you? Is your life on the line if you jump into this learning zone, even if you make a mistake, even if it doesn't work out? Is it going to kill you? The answer is probably no. If the answer is no, remind yourself, I'm safe. I'm safe. Remind yourself of all the positive what ifs. So that's something great to start writing down, the positive what ifs. What if I do? What's going to happen? What if, who's going to win? Who wins if I do? Who wins if I don't? So for me, I talked to you guys yesterday about the fact that I started from here, food being in my comfort zone, and I want to reestablish my fear zone is reestablishing my healthy habits that have been neglected. Okay. Who wins if I do that? I win. My kids win. My husband wins. You guys win. My clients all win. Everybody in my world wins when I do that. Why? Why do they win? Why do you win? Why do my kids win? Why does my husband win if I reestablish healthy habits? Why? I can tell you why. Well, I'm happier. I feel better. I'm a better mom. I'm a better wife. I'm a better coach. My confidence is better. My brain fog disappears and I can relay my messages more clearly. I got a lot of reasons why everybody else wins if I do this. Why do I win? Well, all of those things. My brain fog disappears. I feel better. I have more energy. I sleep better. My clothes fit better. I got all kinds of reasons why I win. Now, who wins if I don't? Who wins if I don't reestablish my healthy habits? Nobody. I can't think of anybody that wins if I do not reestablish my healthy habits. I can't think of anybody who loses out if that's not the case. Right? So that is really important to sit down and think about, because our drunk monkey starts to tell us all the reasons why we want to stay in that spot. And so really establishing this, who wins if I do, who wins if I don't, starts to relieve some of that fear. Okay, this is really scary. This is really hard. Here's the reasons why it's really scary. Here's the reasons why it's really hard, but here's why it's worth it. My list of all my people who win if I do. And you should be number one at the top of that list. If you are not number one at the top of that list of who wins if you do this, then this is not the right thing to be working on, because if you don't win, you're not going to stick to it. All the other people winning is gravy and amazing and wonderful, and it's going to enhance it, and it's going to enhance how you win in so many other ways. Okay. But when our drunk monkey is talking to us, our drunk monkey can't see this at that time. So really focusing on how do I win is number one. And then, but also having this list of other people who win and writing those people down, because when it gets hard, you want to go back and look at that list and say, okay, this is really hard. I'm sort of slipping into the fear zone, or I'm sort of stuck in the fear zone in this, and go and look and say, okay, who wins if I do this? Who wins if I tell the hard to be quiet? If I tell the drunk monkey to be quiet, who wins when I jump into that learning zone? So here's what I did on my chart here. I wrote, first, I brain dumped a handful of things of what's keeping me in fear. Why am I here? I want to observe that. I really want to observe and recognize and pay attention to what in the heck am I scared of, right? Because that's really important to pay attention to that. That's the voice of your drunk monkey. What are you scared of? So here's what I wrote. I'm being completely transparent with you. So this is about reestablishing healthy habits that have been neglected. Can I do it again? I worked really, really, really hard for a really long time to do this. Can I do it again? Do I have it within me? That's a fear. Fear of failure. What if I don't do it again? What if I'm not successful? What if I'm not don't do it as well as I did it last time? Whatever. Fear of failure. Also fear of success. Okay, I do it again. Great. I've done it before. And then what happens in the future if I'm successful and then I struggle again? Then what? What comes next? How am I going to assure myself that I'm not going to be back in this cycle again? That's a real fear. That's what I talked about before. Fear of success can be positive or it can be negative. What will others think? She's doing this again, right? Really? Didn't she get this down 7 years ago? She's been coaching people on how to maintain their healthy habits and she slipped back, right? What will others think? I really enjoy when I'm eating things that aren't so healthy. Am I really ready to start to make some shifts in that again? Right? That sort of keeps me in fear. I am tired of the struggle. I've been struggling with food being in my comfort zone for as long as I can remember. I'm really tired of the struggle. Wouldn't it just be easier to say, I'm just going to keep it in my comfort zone and whatever happens, happens. That would be much easier, right? That fear of just that tired of the struggle, my drunk monkey saying to me, it's just so much easier. It's just so much easier. Don't worry about it anymore. Who cares, right? Who cares? Well, who cares? Comes to who wins if I do, who wins if I don't. That's why I care. I know what it feels like to be healthier. My kids know what it's like when I'm healthier, right? Who win, but that's a real thing. Tired of the struggle. What if I just let it be and just sort of coast? I will tell you one thing. If that's one of the things that pops into your head, you're never just coasting. In life, either you're moving forward through the comfort, fear, learning, growth. Either you're moving forward and keep going in that cycle, or you're slipping backwards. There is no such thing as maintaining. There is no such thing as staying put. We are always moving. It's just which direction are you moving in? Think about, have you ever been to the beach? And when you get in the ocean and you're just like hanging out there, right? Treading water, laying on a raft, whatever, and the tide is going one way. If you are just sitting there, you're going to end up the beach one way or the other, depending on how the tide is, right? But if you're just doing some minor things, right, to stay put, it takes a lot of work to stay put and to stay even. I do this. We were just at the beach on Sunday with my kids, and we kept having to walk down the beach and say, guys, head back this way, right? Because the current was taking them down the beach. And one of my kids is like, but why? We're not that far. And I said, because in another 10 minutes, you're going to be 3 miles down the beach. And I don't want to walk 3 miles down the beach to come get you. So it takes some work to stay where you are. You have to take work to stay where you are. And it takes work to keep going forward. If you're not putting in any work, you're going to end up in the wrong direction down the beach every single time. Every time. That's just what happens. So really, knowing what's keeping me in fear and knowing that if I don't move forward, if I don't take action steps to move forward, I'm going to be going the wrong direction every single time. The next thing I started to brain dump is, why is this important to me? Why do I want to do this? Okay, so my health, both physical and emotional, is much better when I take care of myself, when I take food out of my comfort zone and reestablish those healthy habits. Another big thing for me, why it's important to me, is it's a message to my children. What am I teaching them about taking care of their bodies and the importance of taking care of their bodies and the importance of fueling their bodies properly? I say the words all the time because I know it, but am I taking those action steps? Are my children, your children, everybody's children, watch very closely what we do. They do as we do, not as we say. And so, and I know that, and when it comes to health and wellness, I know if I want my kids not to copy some of the things that I'm doing, I need to shift some of the things that I'm doing. I've always said since they were itty bitty, when I was 100 pounds overweight, I always said, if I only fed myself the way I feed my kids, if I only got as much activity as I tell my kids to get, I would be in great shape. And that was when it clicked. I was like, oh, why am I not? Because when they were little, they were sort of paying attention, but they were going to do what I said to do. They're not so little anymore. And now they're going to do what they want to do. But it's what we're modeling, because even though they're not so little, they're really paying attention to us. They're really listening. So for me, that's a really big one, why it's important to me. And the number one reason why it's important to me, and I saying this last, but it really is the number one, overall, I'm happier when I'm healthier. My brain fog is gone. My energy is up. I can do so many more things. I don't, I feel good. I feel good about myself emotionally. I feel good about myself physically. I'm just overall happier. I'm a better person. So those are really why it's important to me. The last piece that's super duper duper important are your action steps. You can write out all the reasons that's keeping you in fear. You can write all the reasons that it's important to you. And that's great. But if you do not have action steps put into place, nothing will happen. Okay. My what's keeping me in fear and what's important to me, I've known those things for a while. That's nothing new. I've brain dumped those before. What is different? What is going to move us to that learning zone is the action steps. So I recommend coming up with 3 to 5 action steps, no more than that, to begin with. If you have a list of 20 action steps, I'm telling you, you will never do them all. If it's just one action step, that is better than too many. One action step is fantastic, but my ideal place for me personally is 3 to 5 action steps. And I recommend that one of those action steps, so actually I would do a minimum of 2. One of those action steps is something that's actually ties into your comfort zone. Because if we are not comfortable with this, if every action step that we have, if we have 5 action steps or 4 action steps or 3 action steps, and all of them are swimming against the current, it's going to get really tiring. And we're going to quit on ourselves at some point pretty quickly. Any one of us can do anything for some amount of time. That's called willpower. Okay. But willpower has a lifespan every single time. Some people can hold willpower for 30 seconds, some for 2 days, some for a week, some for months. But at some point, that willpower smack hits and it's gone. And so if everything you're doing is trying to swim against the current, and that's that willpower, we're going to tire out really quickly and smack hit it. So that's really important to recognize that you have one thing in your action steps that connects back to your comfort zone, that feels really good. And I will tell you, some of these action steps are going to become comfort zone things later on, because, right, I talked about yesterday how we go from comfort to fear to learning, and then learning gets comfortable. And we have to take that next step into growth. We're going to talk about growth tomorrow. But we have to take that next step into growth, but we get comfortable. So that's okay. But when you start, you want one of those action steps to be something that is comfortable for you, something that's going to give you that support within yourself, that pacifier within yourself. Okay. So I came up with my action steps. The first one is I'm recommitting to my health plan, to what I know works. That's what foods I'm going to eat, the amount of healthy motion I'm going to get, getting my water, getting my sleep. I am recommitting to all of those things. And I'm going to share with you how I do that later on. But I'm recommitting to that. Okay. That's my number one action step, because if I don't take that action step, if I'm reestablishing healthy habits, I have to take an action step that puts me into a way to reestablish them. I have to start doing it. I have to start doing the work. The second one is I'm going to have an accountability group. You need to have you need to have somebody that's going to help hold you accountable, some way to hold yourself accountable, or I do, right? That's one of my action steps, is have some way to hold myself accountable. And I am going to be offering anyone that's in here to be part of a VIP accountability group. I will give the details on what that's going to look like later. It's optional, but it's going to be really great. It's going to have lots of resources, lots of things. It doesn't matter what your fear zone thing is. does not, mine is about reestablishing healthy habits. This is a nutritional, getting my food in, but this can be business, this can be personal, this can be whatever. It's all the same, it's all the same process. So we're going to have a very special VIP group that is going to help be an accountability group for everybody. So anybody who wants to be part of that, stay tuned for those details that are coming. I'm going to track everything. I am going to keep track of my stuff. That's part of, that's part of my personal accountability, but I got to get back to tracking everything that I'm doing for my physical health, right? And to get my food outside of my comfort, outside of one of the things that I rely on for comfort. And then what am I going to do that's in my comfort zone, right? Because food is a comfort zone thing very much. So what am I going to make sure I'm tapping into? So for me, it's my tones. Really becoming very consistent. I'm pretty darn consistent with it. I'm consistent with it in the morning. It's how I start my morning every single day. I sit out on my back porch. I run new tones. I listen to them. I listen to them every night before I go to bed. I'm really consistent with those things. But one of the things that I'm going to start using is I'm going to start using those anytime that I'm turning to food for comfort. I am going to start using my tones. There's a 3-minute burst that I can do. And I've committed to using those every single time, that the minimum of the 3-minute burst, bring myself in, to bring myself that comfort so that I don't need to rely on the food for that comfort. And during those 3 minutes, it'll give me a little bit of time to explore in my mind of what's going on. So those are my action steps. So I circled them and I took them up here. And I committed to my action steps right here in my learning. That's going to be my learning, is sticking with those action steps and keep working on those action steps. Sometimes we're in a learning zone for a short amount of time and it becomes comfortable. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes we can sit in this learning zone for quite a while, but that's really where what I'm doing is those action steps are going to become what I'm putting over my learning. So I just drew an arrow and wrote up there, commit to my action steps. Right. So what I really want you to do today, if you have not created action steps yet for the things that you're afraid of, sit down and really think through. You guys did a great job brain dumping yesterday in your fear zone and taking that and expanding on it, some action steps, and put those action steps into your learning category, because that's how you're going to start to do it. They're going to be scary. There are going to be days that you're going to struggle and you're going to flip back into fear, and you might flip back into comfort if it's something that's really ingrained in your comfort zone. That's okay. That's how we learn. That's how we process through. That's why I'm going to be starting a VIP accountability group so that we can do this together. What happens when you're sitting in that learning zone and you're struggling? What happens, right? What happens when I've got my action steps here that I'm committing to? What happens if next week life smacks me in the face again? Because that's what sent me back. That's what happened to me. I was in the ocean and I was doing great, right? For a very long time, I was paddling hard and going upstream and going against the current and growing. I was in the growth zone for a really long time. And life started happening and I fell back into the comfort zone learning zone. And then it kept happening, right? And the tide took me back and took me back and took me back. And I did end up down the beach. Now, I'm not all the way down the beach to where I was 7 years ago. You can never get all the way back there. Even if I had put on all 100 pounds from my highest, which I am nowhere near that, which is great. Even if that had happened, I'm still not the same person I was 7 years ago. I'm a completely different person than I was 7 years ago when I started this journey. And those of you who knew me 7 years ago can vouch for that. Completely different person. But so it's not starting over. It's not starting at day one. This here is not my day one comfort. It's been around and around and around in circles, but it's where I found comfort now. So if I struggle here in the learning and I fall back into fear, it's okay. But we want to catch ourselves when we fall back here into fear, and not when we go all the way back here. I let this go too far. And you know what? Life smacked me in the face a lot for 2 years. So I'm not beating myself up over it. And because I am not. If all the life that had happened to me in the last 2 years happened to me 7 years ago, I would be up 100 plus pounds. Food would have had been much more comfort. So I've won all the way around. So when you're looking at things like that, if you're looking at something that you've slid back from, don't beat yourself up. It's normal. It's natural. It happens. And I can guarantee you were still probably better off and still miles ahead up the beach than you would have been if it was before the first time you went through this or the second time you went through this, every time you went up, right? If I've gone, 100 miles up the beach, a mile for every pound, I'm not 100 miles down the beach. I might be 10 miles, 15 miles, whatever, however many miles I'm down the beach, but I'm still in such a better place. And I'm on a different beach. I'm in a different place. And that's what we want to remember. So taking this, commit to those action steps. And I want you to write out today in your learning zone. You can either, I just put in here and put up an arrow and said, commit to my action steps, but put your action steps in the learning, because that's what you're going to begin focusing on. And tomorrow, we're going to talk about taking it from the learning to the growth. And how do you know when you're in the growth zone? Because that's a big thing. How do we know when we're actually in the growth zone? And part of that knowing that you're in the growth zone, spoiler alert, is that you fall back, that this stuff becomes really comfortable again. So, like I said, sometimes that can take a short amount of time. Sometimes that can take a long time. And that's okay. You can sit in this learning zone for a very long time. And there is nothing wrong with that. That's actually really good. So today, create your action steps. If you didn't already, put them in your learning zone. Share that underneath this video in the Healthy Habit Blueprint group. Share that. What are your action steps going to be? 3 to 5 is a great place to be. And stay tuned for how to, be part of this accountability group that I'm going to put in. Or if you're interested in it, comment also when you put this up. I'm interested in the VIP accountability group. It's going to be something really cool. Going to have a lot of resources, going to have a lot of support. Some groups, we're going to have a group support and one-on-one support. And we're gonna push through this, and really let's all of us go from fear into learning. Okay. Have a great day. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow for day 4, all about what happens when we, are ready to move from learning to growth. Talk to you later. Bye.